welcome to another Tales from a Professional Nerd. My name is BryanCPSteele, and I will be your nerd today and any other day that you watch one of my silly little shows. Hey everybody, I know it's been 2 weeks. For some of you, it may have been just minutes if you're just, binging my show, which that's a lot of me, and you should probably take a break, drink some water, do something that isn't the consumption of social media streaming and the like. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, hi everybody. It's been 2 weeks because we had Gen Con last week, which again we'll get into that momentarily. Actually, you know what? I think we're going to go ahead and just do the Gen Con review first, and we'll do the week in Bryan afterwards, because it's 2 weeks in Bryan, and that can end up being kind of lengthy. So let's just go ahead and go through the Gen Con review. First off, Gen Con 2025 was great. I went into this show with a little trepidation, a little bit on a personal level, but also just get a general. There's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot of things that have people kind of on edge. And in our industry specifically, tariffs. There's a lot. So I kind of was worried that going into this show that we were going to end up with a lot of people walking around on eggshells, and I can say that I cannot. I'm so happy that I was so wrong. The vibe at Gen Con 2025 was unbelievable. People wanted to be there. The fans wanted to be there to interact with each other and the games and whatnot. The industry folk wanted to be there because it gives us an opportunity to see our convention family. Stage actor folk wanted to be there because interacting with the fans, specifically fans that are super gamer fans, it is highlights of our show. And the people who were just there to buy and purchasing, obviously the options were there. It was totally sold out. I want to say it was the first time that Gen Con has sold out before the hall open, before it ever opens. I know last year it sold out too, but it sold out like the Sunday badges were still like trickling in on Thursday. And in this case, those Gen Con totally sold out signs were up before the hall even opened on Thursday. It's crazy. I think the final tally was like 72,000 badges. That's crazy. It's awesome. The sheer volume of people who came to Indianapolis to get away from it all and enjoy life. I love it. It was busy. It was hard to get places. The hallways are always packed, and I made the mistake on Thursday morning of being caught in the Gen Con herd on the way in. So it took me a good 10 minutes to get to my booth. But all of that being said, Gen Con obviously made some adjustments to try and make things better. I still think that the hallways, the corridors between booths and between the aisles need to be a little wider. Just because it is a lot of people, and a lot of times people will stand there looking at things at booths and be utterly unaware of their surroundings. I'm guilty of it. You walk by a booth and you stop and you see something, you go, whoa. You put the brakes on, and if there's someone right behind you and they're trying to rush to get to a thing, it ends up creating a little bit of a pedestrian traffic jam. So I get it. But Gen Con's doing its best. This year they disallowed, at least for the most part, anything that was dragged behind, no strollers, no wagons, the things that are always problems. I still saw a good amount of them. And I don't know what the special dispensation Gen Con was doing for those people who needed them. Again, and obviously like wheelchairs and my leg is in a cast, scooters and things like that. I get that, and I understand that those need to happen, but that's obviously, those are allowed. That's part of the accessibility dispensations. I did see a few people who were on scooters and things. Like there was one family that went by that the person who should have had the scooter was walking. Like they had their air boot on and they were walking, and their like 9-year-old kid was riding around on the scooter. Come on, that's one of those. That's not what that's for, and all that's doing is creating the potential for him to run into somebody. It's more stuff in the hall. But again, those are pretty far and few between. I will die on this hill, and I know that it is a product that is sold there. The giant cube style board game backpacks have to go. They are the worst. We had several instances where stuff was getting knocked off tables. They are perfectly at kid eyeball height, and the people who wear them sometimes don't know. I mean, it extends their footprint out like 2.5 feet. I know they're really well made, and I know they're not going to fall apart or anything like that, but they are obnoxiously big, and I really, really wish that would get included in the stuff that people can't have in those hallways. Because apart from people just stopping on a dime to check their phone or something like that, the most trouble I had while I was at the booth and walking through the halls were people wearing those gigantic backpacks. They're just dumb. I mean, I hate to be that and judgy. And if you own one and you think it's the best thing ever, I am glad that it serves you a purpose. But in a busy convention like Gen Con, they are just another obstacle, and are just unnecessary. Sorry, that is my opinion, and we'll move on from it. We'll get away from all the negatives. The only other thing that I would say close to a negative is lines. The line management was bad. There were a lot of booths that would have people lined around the side. They did their best to keep people penned in. I know Ravensburger, their Lorcana room, the line was kind of more of a mob around that back hallway. But again, that's like a super minor thing. At least they are containing their line at all and doing some self-management, knowing that their place is going to be busy. Lines at the concession stands. I never even went out to the food courts. Someone in our booth went and got us food court food, or food truck food, but it is for exhibitors, for people that are in the hall, it is extremely difficult to get all the way there, wait in line, get the stuff, come back to the booth, and then eat it remotely safely. You're not just wolfing it down because it's cold, and you've got minutes before the next big rush is going to hit your booth. The concession stands in the hall did a pretty good job. I never had to wait in line longer than maybe 10 minutes. But I wish that there was a little better. I know in years previous, they had concession stands with a little better array of foods, rather than just the one that in the back that had Mexican food, which is great. It was awesome, and it was actually good Mexican food. But like collectively, there was at least like other things available besides like, here's a chicken tender, here's a hot dog. But again, these are all super minor problems. In shows previous, in other shows, my list of cons, my list of negatives at a show could be much bigger and more pointed at things. This was fine. This was, like I said, it was a good show. It really felt like people wanted to be here. Now let's run through how my personal show went. So, got there Wednesday. There was some complications getting me checked into the hotel, but that had nothing to do with Gen Con. It had nothing to do with the hotel. It just had everything to do with everybody being really busy on Wednesday. Also, once I got into the hall to start helping with the booth on Wednesday, it was miserable in there. And I understand. I've talked to people before. They can't really turn the air on while the backloading docks are all open because the condensers would just run constantly and have the risk of burning out, which would cause Gen Con to come screeching to a halt. Could you imagine if there was no air on at all when there's just the convention setup crews and stuff? It sucked. It was horrible. It was, I mean, I was literally dripping wet when I walked out of there. I know that's gross, but it was horrible. Could you imagine that with an extra 70,000 people coming through? That's why they make sure that we have to keep the doors open. And I get it. I totally understand. It's just sucky, and it's awful, and I hate it. But we got through it. We got everything set up. We got everything ready for Thursday, and then went out and got to go hang out with my game industry friend folk in the Marriott. There was, speaking of the Marriott, there was a few complications due to construction, whether it's roads or the fact that the entire bottom floor of the JW was under construction. That seems like it was poorly timed, knowing that Gen Con is the biggest show that Indiana sees every year. That seems like it was poorly timed. But again, we adapt. We know how it is what it is, and you move on. But it did push everybody. Normally the JW is like one of the major hangouts, but because it was not available, it took all of those people and it brought them over to the Marriott proper. And it did mean that lobby was chock full of industry folk pretty much every night. Which is a great thing. It's a great thing. It's one of the reasons why I love GameholeCon, is the industry hangouts afterwards. But I will say that it was very warm in there. They had a hard time keeping up with the sheer volume of bodies generating heat in there. But it was still fun. It was a good time. And a shout out to the bartender all the way in the back by the restaurant, by Connor's. When the line at the lobby bar was too long, like we were sitting there forever waiting, one of the wonderful management women, I do not remember her name for the life of me, she was wonderful. She walked over and she's like, hey, unless you're using drink tickets, you guys can go go hit one of the other bars. And we bopped out to the restaurant, to Connor's, just to grab a couple of drinks. And not only was there no line, but the bartender was cool enough, because I only had two hands, to walk my drink to the lobby, back to the lobby with me. We had a nice little chat. So it was, again, the staff there was fantastic, amazing. No complaints, no notes. They did great. Thursday came along. Again, I got caught in the sea of nerds. Nerds are good people. Don't take that as a slight. I got caught in the sea of nerds, and it took me a little extra time to get to the hall. I was gonna be there a little earlier, but my wife and I actually had a really, really good meeting with Luke Gygax that morning. We're talking about some GaryCon stuff for next year, and I kind of lost track of time and was like, all right, I gotta go, and got caught up in the crush. So it took me a few minutes to get to the hall. But then once we got there, it was great. It was a good, sales on the first day were okay. They weren't amazing, but they were solid. For those of you who don't know, I was working the Lynn Vander Studios booth. Lynn Vander is the game design side of Six Sides of Gaming. They're separate companies, but they're owned by the same people. Six Sides is who I do most of my like stage appearances and videos in the Shadowrun World of Shadows live play through them. But Lynn Vander's who we make the Evil Dead 2 role-playing game, Legacy of Mana, the Imaria role-playing setting, and that we just announced the Thundercats role-playing game coming to Kickstarter soon. So it just made sense for me to be with Lynn Vander this year because we got so much cool stuff happening. So I was working their booth when I wasn't doing panels and meetings and signings and all that jazz. So it was cool to be there and peddling wares. I did get a few questions of, so what here did you work on? And because nothing that I've written or designed for Lynn Vander has come out yet, it's a little weird because it's like, well, nothing here, but soon, but again, it was still cool to be there. It was still cool to be part of the team and help out. And we sold a lot of Evil Dead 2 board game stuff. That was definitely our big seller on our end. We shared a booth with the amazing Austin Hartnell, who does the Dungeon Craft metal Magic the Gathering token cards. They're so good. You definitely need to check them out. In fact, I will probably post the link to his site on the description to this video. But super rad. Just an amazing dude doing amazing things, and it was cool to see him do so well at the booth. And then the other end of the booth was a dice manufacturer who makes, if you've seen any of the really high quality weird shaped spinner dice, like spinners, that's Mike's booth. And so that was our booth lineup, and it was cool to see gamers come up and enjoy these things and see this stuff and do all the things. And that was pretty much my Thursday. Apart from the meeting in the morning, I really didn't have anything else that I did except for work the booth. Thursday night, got to hang out a little bit, went out to see my friends over at Accidental Cyclops, who I helped with the Surviving Strange Hollow book that is apparently close to being finished and sent off to printers and things. But I had an opportunity to go hang out with those guys all together. That was just a good night. It was a nice, lot of talk, a lot of game philosophy, and just a nice way to start the show, to ease myself into the hecticness that was about to begin, because Friday and Saturday were nuts. I had a little bit of booth time, but I had a lot of meetings. I had a signing over at Catalyst for my new novel, Night Court, my new Shadowrun novel, which, good news, is they sold out. Bad news meant that I had like one copy to sign at my first signing and nothing left for my second signing on Sunday. Again, good problem to have, but it does mean that it turns the signing aspect of a meet and greet into just a meet and greet, which is fine. Obviously I love talking to people, so it's not a big deal. The Friday also was, I unexpectedly I was attached to a live play that was not initially on my schedule, but super glad that it was. It was a Marion Knights game where I get to play Nuggle Honeysbane. That is my iconic character when I play in Imaria, not for Legacy of Worlds. And it was the first time that I got to play with Johnny Young and Mark Meir and Mara, which I can't remember her last name for the life of me. Basically, voice actors from video games and a couple of movies and things. I've played with Justine before, and I've known Clarkson for a little while, but it was very cool to get to experience some of these other characters that I have not played with yet. And because Justine has played with them and I have played with Justine, it immediately fell into sync, and it was really, really cool that I had an opportunity to had an opportunity that I didn't realize I was going to have to play with some of these people, and I'm very, very looking forward to doing it again. In fact, my Legacy of Worlds character, who was a Spelljammer captain, I really want to play with Mark Meir's Captain Flint, his Githyanki pirate captain, because we are definitely two sides of the same style of coin, and I think that it would be an awesome pairing to put a R-matey style pirate and the Errol Flynn swashbuckling champion of Captain Berwick on the same deck. I think it'd be great. I think it'd be awesome. But all that aside, it was a great show, and it let me make some extra friends. People that I always count some of these people as they're acquaintances. They're people that I know, and then there are people who I legitimately would reach out to if they were having trouble, or just people who I say, no, that's not just someone who I play games with, but that's an actual friend. And I think that some of those relationships were created. So it was super awesome. It was a great time. And then I had to head back to the booth and finish out the day. Friday night was mostly just hanging out. I got to, it was not much. It was a little bit of a wind down because I knew Saturday was going to be big. And I was right. Saturday was, in fact, a lot. I had a panel. I had 2 different live plays, one at night, one during the day, one Shadowrun, one D&D, but specifically comedian-based D&D. The panel was Creating Imaginative Worlds, which was a fun little panel. I will say that the panels being at the Union Station, the Crown Plaza Union Station, we had a good audience, but it was obviously smaller than if it was centrally located, because it took me a while to figure out where the heck I was going. I was glad I left early. It was a lot. But I had also had a couple of good meetings on Saturday. I had one really, really good meeting on Saturday that will legally, I can't really talk about much of it right now, but it is going to be very good for an existing property that I work with, and hopefully, just kind of in general, I think it'll be a good leg up for one of my major game lines that I do. Then Saturday night there was more partying, more stuff, but I can only do it for a little while because I had my Shadowrun game, my Shadowrun Live, at 9:00. So it was mostly go get dinner, go get cleaned up, go get in costume, go to the stage so you can play your game. And that was good. For a late night Saturday, it's always hard to know what the crowd's going to be like because, it's a late show and we're not Critical Role. So, I know I don't want to downplay how awesome we are, but, there's a reason why we're at the 9:00 slot and not the, 5:00 in the afternoon slot in one of the major ballrooms. But it was a good time when we got done. Lots of hugs to be had, and then bopped off because Sunday was going to be the last day, and Sunday's always bittersweet. You know, you're tired, you're exhausted, but you're toward the end, but you don't want to see it end. Your body's telling you this has to stop, but your brain is like, come on, please, just keep on pushing just a little bit farther. But yeah, so Saturday night ends, Saturday morning or Sunday morning starts up. I started the day with another signing over at Catalyst for my novel that was sold out, plus my other novels and short story. Basically, everything that I have done for Catalyst was completely sold out. Again, awesome. I love making sure that, knowing that my stuff's out in the world. I did have a couple of people bring up stuff to sign, and I had a really, really nice guy. I cannot remember his name for the life of me. I want to say it was Aaron. Came up and talked to me for a little while because he wants to get into writing novels, and he was really just kind of picking my brain about the process, about how to get it done. When do you have to wrap it up? What I'm at X number of tens of thousands of words. How big is a book? It was just kind of a general thing, the kind of thing that I would do at a panel anyway. So doing it at a meet and greet, it was cool. It was nice to do. And then before that meet and greet got done, the effervescent John Helfers, the CEO of Fiction over at Catalyst. I know that's not his title, but like the editor-in-chief of Fiction or something. He bopped over and was like, hey, there is a live stream that we're doing immediately after this about Shadowrun Fiction. Can we steal you for an extra hour? So I checked with my cohorts back at the booth. Everybody was cool so long as I brought back lunch. And I bopped over to a live talking about Shadowrun Fiction. And that live, not only was myself, Jennifer Brozek, the editor for Augment Magazine, plus a writer in her own right. She's amazing. And Jason Hardy, the head of role-playing games at Catalyst. But we got a cool blast from the past joining us, the Jordan Wiseman. If you don't know who Jordan Wiseman is, Jordan is the guy who started FASA. He's the guy who invented Mage Knight, Pirates of the Spanish Main, Battletech, Shadowrun. Like that name. I mean, there's a reason why Jordan is who he is. I have a very funny story about Jordan Wiseman. Way back in my Privateer Press days, we were running Midnight Madness on like the second or third year at Origins, and this super nice gentleman came over with his son. His son was going to play in the tournament. The super nice gentleman sat down, and we were just kind of talking, having a good time, enjoying our drinks and just running a tournament. Like as you do, we sit around. For the people who aren't playing, you sit around and you kibitz and you socialize. This wonderful gentleman, this dad of player X, goes, hey, I've got a game that I want to show you. Do you want to see a new game that I'm working on? And we're like, oh yeah, sure, that'd be great. And so he runs and gets his bag, and he comes back, and it's these little like foam core business card looking things that have like sailing ships punched out. You put them together and you play. That ended up being Pirates of the Spanish Main before it was Pirates of the Spanish Main. And when he showed us this game, it was really neat. We're like, this is cute. This is neat. This will be a fun game. It'll be a cool project. And then he got up to go put his stuff away, and my friend Chris goes, how do you know Jordan Wiseman? And whether it was late at night or a couple of drinks or maybe just my relative newness to the industry at the time, the name didn't mean anything to me at the moment. He was just a cool dude. And I was like, Jordan Wiseman, he's that kid's dad. Like he's Crick's player number 7. It's his dad. And Chris was like, no, that's Jordan Wiseman, the guy who started Battletech, the guy who started Shadowrun, the guy who started FASA and WizKids. And I immediately, I was like, oh no. And I think, if anything, I mean, again, he was just an awesome guy. It was great to hang out with him, and always is. It was, I think it was that interaction that set the tone for me that game industry people, whether it's, you know, the greats in the greats in the world out there, they are still people. They're still gamers. They're still, you know, I do know that there has become a little bit of celebrity-itis in some circles, making people hard to approach, or the only time you get to talk to them is when they've got a booth hours or something like that. But I think it's the interactions like that, and the interactions with game industry moguls that still view themselves as gamers, that still view themselves as, no, I work here and this is my job, but I just love games. I love seeing people happy. I think that interaction is one of the things that I can put a pin in my history and go, that helped me to realize what being in the industry should be. So again, that was a great moment. It was a great thing, but it definitely did put Jordan in my head as just a great dude and an awesome dad and just a generally cool guy before he was this amazing game designer mogul. And so getting to be on a panel with him, which I believe that's the second panel we've been on together. I think we did one at PAX Prime many years ago. But either way, obviously I'm not going to miss that opportunity. And it was a chance for us to basically talk about Shadowrun fiction and all the cool things that we do, and the reason why we do them, and, you know, some of the inspiration that we take and why we do the things we do. It was just a really cool little live, 50 minutes. And then when that was done, I went and grabbed lunch for the booth and went back to the booth, and that's where I stayed for the rest of the day. And then we closed out the booth, tore everything down. I went back to the hotel and called my wife and said, Natalie, come get me. I'm exhausted. And that was the end of my Gen Con. I picked up some very, very cool stuff. I have already put most of it away. There's a couple of things over the next few weeks you're going to see in unboxing videos. So there will be some Gen Con special thanks to the people who gave me things to do unboxings. But I want to do one particular shout out, and that is to Demons and Dinos. I'm saving this because the wonderful ladies at Demons and Dinos, they've got coloring books, they've got keychains, they've got bracelets, they've got stickers, they've got little stuffed animals. They've got all these cool things. It's just a very, they don't have games, but they've got gamer friendly cool stuff. And they also have a bunch of stuff that's a little risque, a little adult. But I found something for my stepdaughter, because I always like to bring at least something home for the family, because I mean they're holding down the fort while I'm off gallivanting at conventions. So I try to bring something back. I brought some fancy dice and things for Natalie. I got a very cool multi-purpose. Someone asked me the name of the bartender. What's the special today? A bunch of random tables on like a neoprene mat for a fantasy game, because my son runs a D&D game. I try to bring back stuff, but for my stepdaughter, who's not a gamer, but is into pop culture and things, this was perfect. So I grabbed her a bracelet, grabbed her a rabbit fur real bunny, and when I was checking out, one of the two ladies behind the counter was like, you're pretty cool. I'm going to give you a free thing. And she gave me a little dragon sticker. It's a little dragon sticker who's like looking away from you, so his back is turned. And he has a little squishy 3D silicone butt. I laughed so hard. And I know that my stepdaughter is going to absolutely adore this little sticker. It's going to go on something. What it goes on, I don't know. But it's fantastic and perfect, and I wanted to just give a shout out to Demons and Dinos. In fact, I want to put up their QR code real quick, and I'll try and hold it so you can look at it. There we go. Go give these guys some love. They were fun, awesome. It was a great way to reinvigorate me on the way back to the booth during my shopping trip. It was awesome. And I couldn't ask for a better interaction with a random non-game booth at Gen Con. That's basically my Gen Con. It was a good show. It was a good time. I wish I would have been able to make it over to the Warzone Eternal tournament on Saturday, but Saturday was just too crazy for me. And if I wanted to get any kind of food in my belly before the Shadowrun event that night, I had to use that time to go get food. And I feel really bad because I wish I could have been there, at least to check in on the event and say hi. But from what I understand, they had a great time. Gray ran a hell of a tournament. And our good friend John Caspian won the event with his Brotherhood. So good on ya, and Cardinal be praised. So if you are only here for the Gen Con review, this is where the video ends for you, and I hope you have a great day, and that you stay safe, and try and make it a good day. If you are wanting to stick around, or let's say that you came here for the Gen Con review, but then you're like, man, I love this dude. This guy's great. I want him to be my uncle. Now we get into a segment that I call The Week in Bryan. The Week in Bryan is basically a quick checkup on a few of my things that I've been doing. Now, in this case, it's actually 2 weeks in Bryan because it's been 2 weeks because I was away for Gen Con for the last video. And there are 4 segments of the Week in Bryan. First off is personal. The personal segment. This is where I talk about, personal stuff. Honestly, there's not a lot going on personally. Still going to the gym. I have not been to the gym in a couple of days because of just playing Gen Con catch up. I just have not had an opportunity to do so. Too many things on the plate, but I plan to rectify that as soon as possible. I need to get back into it, otherwise I will fall out completely, and I don't want to. I'm actually in a pretty good place. I am hoping that the weight loss continues because I need to be in better shape. Running around at Gen Con taught me that very much so. The next segment is hobbying. Hobbying is where I talk about any painting or sculpting or anything over at the hobby desk. My hobbying has came to a little bit of a halt because of Gen Con, but I am ready to start doing some painting. My charity project for Gamehole is totally primed and ready to go. I need to just basically set up some days and start putting paint to the models. And that's going to be the trying to tick the other boxes and give myself some free time to actually go paint. Because I need to get that done. I know that I've got it for. The idea is that it's for Gamehole Con. If for some reason I do not get it done, I will push it forward to GaryCon in the spring. But I really want it to be ready for Gamehole. So we'll see what I can do. Did a little 3D printing of some models, but nothing to write home about, and definitely nothing's painted yet. They're just extras for the the tower, so to speak, the tower of unpainted shame. That's really all my hobbying. What was next? Personal, hobby, gaming. Still playing a little Baldur's Gate with my buddy Bryan, but also had an opportunity, apart from the gaming that I did at Gen Con, got to play in our playtest Intergalactic Heroes game, which that I believe I'm playing again this weekend. It is shaping up, and it's a great way for me to be a player and see how well things run outsider looking in, because I can look at the manuscript 1,000 times and go, it's perfect, it's perfect, it's perfect, it's perfect, it's ready, it's perfect, and then something happens in game and I go, oh, that needs tweaked, and so it's just it's a fun game. It's a great character that I get to play, but also it's a solid way for me to see if there are any problems, and also the other players, if they see something in the beta manuscript that doesn't make sense, I can highlight it and go back and fix the wording. So it's just a good use thing, and a great way for me to spend the occasional Friday night. And that's really it as far as gaming goes. I know I've got some more stuff coming up, and we'll talk about that later. But that's really it. Again, Gen Con, I got to do a bunch of cool gaming at Gen Con, but that was at Gen Con, and I already talked about that. There's the live play stuff. Work stuff. Whoo doggy. So work stuff has been a lot. I am finishing up a project for the Dungeon in a Box guys for their Monster Trainers Handbook. In fact, by the time this video comes out, I hope to have my last installment for them. My work with Infinite Stories continues, and please, if you have not joined the pre-launch of a great, amazing, cool new Game Masters tool, go check it out. It is an awesome thing. The link is in the description. I am finishing up an adventure for the World of Drashar. Now, the guys over at Point One Games, the people who will be making World of Drashar, they did a bunch of demo games, like playtest demo games at Gen Con. Like officially, I think they said that something like 32 players, so 8 sessions. And they got a bunch of good feedback, a bunch of good notes. I know there's going to be some changes made, but it's really cool to see how things are coming along. And in fact, the World of Drashar Point One has a website now, so I will put that in the description of the video too, so you can go check them out, get on their mailer. Because I think that's going to be, when he gets that up and running, Nathan is going to make one hell of a game. And I would love to see that excel, to see more out of that in the future. Still working on Warzone stuff. In fact, got a bunch of good Warzone stuff coming very soon. The pallets, the final Kickstarter shipment pallets, and like the handful of scattered boxes should be out the door possibly by the time this video is to you. So meaning that it's just basically in the hands of postage services and fulfillment service before everybody gets it. I know a few retailers have started to see their retail goods, bringing us to the point where the Kickstarter is almost completely done fulfilled, and then that puts Alex and myself in the position to open up our own retail options and start expanding, adding more units. This is why we did the Kickstarters, to create that footprint, and we're about to the point where the footprint is created, and now it's start to expand, start to grow toes on it, put more toes on the footprint. You know what I mean. So very excited about that, and I can't wait for people to see some of the new stuff and hear some of the new news about what we are going to be doing with Warzone Eternal. Good stuff. Good stuff. The Shadowrun novel that I'm working on right now has undergone a name change. Funny story, true story. The original working title for the novel was called Killing Time. And it was changed midstream during the pitch, and then as of this weekend, it is now changed back. So anytime where you hear me talking about a novel called Bragging Rights, it is now turning into Killing Time. So there we go. So that the work on that continues, and then I am hard at work on Throne World Saga material for Intergalactic Heroes, which we are doing a definite push on art. We're starting to see some art concepts of the alien species and things. I cannot show them now because they're not finalized, but when I can, I think you guys are going to be really impressed. There's a bunch of really, really cool art being made. And the actual story for the Throne World Saga is coming along wonderfully. I'm enjoying getting to fill the gaps and work with my one of our editors, Eric Nelson. Getting to work with him to fill in some of the holes. While the Throne World Saga is my baby, there are a lot of little bits that I have, they're just kind of glossed over. Here's a note in the chronology. Eric's the person that is going to be able to ask the deeper questions about, well, what does that mean? What happened? How big is this? And that's what this is all about. So very, very happy about that. And then obviously the outline and the initial research and design mythos for Thundercats role-playing game is underway. A lot of work on that to happen, but I hope that we will get to share some of that as it comes along. And that's pretty much the 2 weeks in Bryan, except there is one thing I need to say. It is the start of a new month, meaning that subscribers and comments for past videos give us the option to be entered into the randominator that spits out one comment from an episode in the previous month for that person to win a comment raffle prize pack. And that particular comment is on episode 286 this month, and it is Moto Kokusaganaki. I screwed it up. Moto Kokusaganaki Sanagi 1172. When this video goes live, I will comment on your comment, let you know that you are the winner for the July comment prize pack, and then you just need to send me your address so I can send you a collection of cool things from the studio. So congratulations. And apart from that, please, everybody, be safe. Wash your hands, get your shots. Just try to make every room a little happier than when you got there, and I think that we're going to be all right. Until next week, where I will be doing one of the Gen Con unboxings. I don't want to say what it is in case I change my mind and do the other one. But either way, we're doing an unboxing next week, so it'll be a cool product for you to take a look at all the guts of what is coming out of there. Until then, please be safe, have fun, and play some games, because you know I will. See you in a week.